Everyone is watching NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, and honestly, that makes sense. These are the companies at the center of the AI explosion, but there's a part of the AI boom almost nobody is talking about, because every time a tech giant spends billions on AI, that money doesn't just disappear into NVIDIA's pockets. It travels into power equipment, into cooling systems, into generators, into networking, into construction, and into companies you've probably never thought of as AI companies. In fact, some of these businesses are benefiting from the AI boom without ever building an AI model. So here's the question. If AI is creating a trillion-dollar infrastructure race, who is actually getting paid behind the scenes? Let's follow the money. Because the first company on this list makes money from a problem AI literally cannot escape: heat. Think about what happens when you put thousands of extremely powerful computer chips into one building. They don't just calculate, they get hot. And as AI systems become more powerful, data centers are packing more computing power into smaller spaces. That creates a massive cooling problem. This is where Vertiv enters the story. You may have never heard of Vertiv, but the company provides critical power and thermal management infrastructure for data centers. And that matters because AI servers increasingly require more sophisticated cooling, including liquid cooling systems. The simple version is this: NVIDIA provides the computing power, but someone has to keep that computing power from overheating, and that's a completely different business. Vertiv has been expanding its role in AI infrastructure, and in March 2026, it announced a collaboration designed to provide combined power and cooling infrastructure for data centers facing power constraints. That's a huge clue about where the AI industry is going, because the next bottleneck isn't just chips, it's everything around the chips. And that brings us to the second problem: power. Imagine building a giant AI data center. You've spent billions on servers, you've installed thousands of GPUs, everything is ready. Except you don't have enough electricity. That sounds ridiculous. But power availability is becoming one of the biggest challenges in the data center race. Eaton says some hyperscale AI facilities can require up to 1 gigawatt of power, while global data center electricity demand is projected to rise sharply through 2030. And that creates an opportunity for another company most people don't associate with AI: Eaton. Eaton makes electrical equipment used to manage, distribute, and protect power. Transformers, switchgear, power management systems, and other infrastructure that helps electricity safely reach the equipment inside a data center. And here's what makes this business model interesting. Eaton doesn't care which AI chatbot wins. If Microsoft wins, the data center needs power. If Google wins, the data center needs power. If Amazon wins, the data center needs power. If a completely new AI company wins, it still needs power. That's the pick and shovel side of the AI boom. You don't have to sell the final product. You can sell the infrastructure everybody needs to build it. But now we have another problem. What happens when the grid simply can't deliver enough electricity? That's where things get really interesting, because the AI boom is now creating demand for something that sounds almost completely unrelated to artificial intelligence: generators. Take Generac. For years, the company was mostly associated with backup generators for homes and businesses. But data centers are a completely different opportunity. These facilities need extremely reliable power, and when the grid can't provide enough capacity quickly enough, backup and on-site power can become critical. Reuters reported in August 2026 that Generac is investing $250 million to expand commercial generator production for data centers and has a $1.6 billion backlog, with plans to add about 1,000 workers. Read that again. A generator company is now expanding because of the AI boom, and Generac isn't alone. Caterpillar and Cummins are also benefiting from rising demand for data center power equipment. Caterpillar has been expanding generator production, while Cummins expects substantial growth in data center-related sales over the coming years. So the AI money trail is getting bigger. AI needs chips, chips need electricity, electricity needs infrastructure, and when the grid isn't enough, you need generators. But we're still missing something. Because thousands of AI chips don't work as one giant brain automatically, they need to communicate very quickly. Imagine thousands of computers trying to solve one enormous problem. If the connection between them is slow, the entire system becomes less efficient. That's why networking is another hidden layer of the AI boom, and one company benefiting from this is Arista Networks. Arista specializes in high-performance networking equipment used in large-scale data center environments. As AI clusters become larger, connecting all those machines efficiently becomes increasingly important. So now look at what we have. NVIDIA helps provide the computing power. Vertiv helps with power and cooling infrastructure. Eaton helps manage the electrical infrastructure. Generac, Caterpillar, and Cummins can provide power generation equipment. And Arista helps connect the machines. But there's one final layer that might be the most surprising: construction. Because before any of this equipment can run, someone has to build the building. And AI data centers are not ordinary buildings. They require huge amounts of electrical equipment. Cooling systems, cables, steel, construction machinery, prefab components, and specialized industrial equipment. Reuters recently reported that the U.S. data center boom is spreading through manufacturing supply chains, creating unexpected demand for companies supplying cooling systems, steel bearings, construction machinery, cables, and prefab walls. This is the part of AI nobody sees. You open an AI chatbot, you type a question. A few seconds later, you get an answer. It feels completely digital. But behind that answer could be an enormous physical operation, a building, thousands of servers, power equipment, cooling equipment, networking equipment, generators, and an entire supply chain of manufacturers. That's why the AI boom isn't really just a technology story anymore. It's becoming an infrastructure story. And this is where the original AI narrative starts to change. At first, everyone asked, which company makes the best AI model? Then everyone asked, which company makes the best AI chip? Now another question is becoming important: who supplies everything AI needs to keep growing? And that's a much bigger group of companies. But there's an important catch. Just because a company benefits from AI spending doesn't mean it is guaranteed to keep winning. The biggest risk is that companies could eventually build too much infrastructure. AI models could become more efficient, demand could slow, or hyperscalers could reduce their capital spending. And if that happens, some suppliers could feel the impact. So this isn't a story about finding the next guaranteed NVIDIA. It's about understanding how money moves during a technology boom, because when a new industry explodes, the obvious companies get all the attention. But the companies selling the tools, equipment, and infrastructure underneath that industry can benefit too. And that's exactly what's happening with AI. The AI boom is creating demand for things that don't sound exciting: cooling, electricity, generators, transformers, networking, construction equipment, cables, industrial systems. And that's the real hidden story. AI may look like software on your screen, but underneath that screen is a massive physical economy. And every time another AI data center gets built, another wave of money moves through that economy. So the next time you hear, this company is spending billions on AI, don't just ask which AI model they're building. Ask, where does all that money go? Because the answer might not be another chatbot. It might be the company cooling the servers, the company moving the electricity, the company providing the backup power, the company connecting the machines, or the company literally building the walls around the whole thing. The biggest AI winners may not always be the companies creating the AI. Some of them are the companies making sure AI can actually exist, and that's where the money is really flowing.